And once again, we'd like to call upon, of course, Christopher Ng, Matthew Heller, and Timothy Leong. Alibaba.com, Google, and of course, PanPages Malaysia. Please welcome our gentlemen back on stage, ladies and gentlemen, for the panel discussion.
Thank you, Joanne, once more time. So it looks like I'm standing between you and the lucky draw, but I believe the tips and tricks from the internet giant will definitely worth the wait. Okay, again, we have only 30 minutes, and we try to ask some questions, then we open to the floor for questioning. So get your questions ready. So I think we go straight to the what do you call that, the questions or the discussion. First question I would like to ask Matt and Chris. We're talking about internet usage. Statistics have shown that about 30% of the businesses engage into internet marketing. There's a lot of opportunity, but it's only 30% of the SME involved into internet marketing. What do you think is the issue here? Why the SME is not engaging into internet marketing that much?
Thanks, Hong. First, I ask a quick question of you. Are the speakers eligible for the prizes?
Depends on the question, the answer.
All right.
Okay.
Great question. Why are so few, if it's such a great opportunity, why are so few SMEs taking advantage of it? I think people that run small, medium businesses, they're busy. Yeah. They're running their business. Their day is full. And I think sometimes in our dreamland, we imagine people coming home after a long day and then getting online and learning about how internet marketing works. Be terrific if everyone had the time to do that, but I think it's really that the business owners are time poor. I think we've really changed from a world where they were wondering if this is something they should do, and more wondering, they've shifted into how do we do it? And again, I think that's why Google's investing in our partners who can really go out and offer this as a service, who can help SMEs with that missing piece. So I think those are the big drivers, just that people lack the time and they lack the expertise, and the day goes by.
Yeah. What about you,
I think
Chris?
for some as well, just to add into what Matt has answered, it's also change, the fear of change. That the SMEs has been doing business for, they are very good at doing what they do. And when it comes to internet marketing and all, it feels like a black hole. Like if I go in, my children, which I send to overseas, should come and help me. And it's not happening where, like in the morning where the YouTuber Genie Boy and Ruben Kang said that, all their children is focusing on Dota and playing games.
So I guess what you're saying is some level of procrastination and some denial in this case. I noticed Alibaba and Google and PanPages, in all the services, the portal that you offer, all of them have this DIY function, right? For those who want to do it themselves, they can do it themselves. But how is that really taking up? Is the SME really using the DIY functions, or they're rather to work with the partners? Maybe Tim, you can answer that.
Actually, this question is related to your first question, is about education. In the beginning, it's difficult, as Chris mentioned, for them to understand what internet is. There may be a fear factor in it, or there's a lack of knowledge about it. So to start, it's always better to have someone, an expert, as Chris said, to help the SME to start using the internet and to know what to do and get the best result. On Alibaba, there are tricks that you could reach the buyers easier, faster, and let the buyer get to know you better. So those are the things that who are, as an expert, who has been doing this, helping the other SME for many years, they know how to do it better. So it's better that the SME will have someone to guide them in the beginning. Of course, some of them, when they get more mature, they would find that I can do part of it myself when as they are the best, they have the best knowledge of their customer, right? So they can fine tune something. But it's always good to have a partner, an expert to help them along the way.
So to start it off, they have a partners, and later on, somehow they have to take on by themselves. Yeah. What about your view, Matt? Yes, how many percent of the businesses really go online, do it themselves as compared to via partners?
Yeah, so we have, there's businesses, there's people of all types, right, who have different approaches to doing things. I worked with, when I had my own business, I worked with a guy who, I mean, literally, if we needed to change the wiring, the electricity in the office, he was the guy who was, in there on Saturday and pulling up the floorboards. It didn't really make any sense, but he was like that. So, I mean, Google is set up to support businesses of kind of all different approaches. People who want to do it themselves, people who, want help. We just want to provide, the right solution for customers. I can tell you what we've seen here throughout Southeast Asia, though. We know from the data that advertisers and customers, basically, who work through a partner, they're more engaged, they see better results, they stay longer, and they're happier, because we survey them, than customers who, take the DIY approach. So that's partially, again, why we're investing so much in PanPages and our partners, is we see better results when the customers come through partners.
So because you give a lot of knowledge and trainings to your partner, and they can translate this knowledge for the benefits of the end user, or which is the business. So they tend to get better result if they go through partners.
Yeah. I think AdWords is reasonably simple to get set up with, yep, especially if you're clear about your objectives. But if you're an expert, and you can really, there's a lot of little knobs and dials you can turn. Yeah. And part of kind of getting AdWords right is having that technical expertise. You don't need it to get started, but if you know what you're doing with it, you can get more out of it. And so our partners are able to deliver more, I think, because they've made that investment in knowledge and we provided it to them. And in all fairness, the product has gotten much more complex as we've, tinkered with it over the years.
Yeah. Talking about complex and making it easy for the SME, I recall, Chris, last year, your presentation, you talk a lot about making it easy for the SME in your product PanPages. How was the response after that?
It's very good. After Digital SME last year, we have about more than 3,000 new customers, new SMEs who sign up with us for the basic starter packs and all to understand. But it's mainly DIY. I would say maybe 50% of them gave up the halfway, like Lat Ahmad and Singalingam barrier. But just to encourage the rest, there's a lot of SMEs now who are getting it. And it's just the starting part that is tough. After you get the hang of it, then you will know, because as an SME, you know your customers, you know your products, you know your services, you know your business very well. And you're the best person to identify which targeted audience, how to engage with them, and how do you really communicate with them. And I think it's very encouraging. We see a lot of SMEs getting it now.
Okay, I think 3,000 is a big number. And talking about big numbers, I recall the last 2 years you won some award from Google. One is about the servicing the highest number of SME. The other reward is
markets,
from emerging market. Can you tell us how you actually achieved that?
Well, I think ultimately PanPages, we live and breathe SMEs. We were in Hangzhou with Teams and Teams team, and they said that us as partners, we have to be the representative of SMEs. Yeah. So I would say products can change, platforms can change, tools can change, the way we communicate can change. But for SMEs, we still need to be there locally and physically to support. So I would say that by staying true to that vision and mission, awards was never our target. So that's just the byproduct.
That's good. I remember also this year, government have given some financial assistance through a program called e-trade. It's a collaboration between Alibaba and Matrade. So team, can you elaborate for the benefits of the SME who may not know this program?
Yes, of course, Matrade is part of the government that helps to promote the Malaysian export for the SME to sell the products to the outside world. Alibaba, because of the nature of a platform, is more about cross-border trading. So we become the natural choice for Matrade to partner with us. With this program, the government actually subsidizes the SME who are qualified for the program for the Alibaba membership, the Gold suppliers. So we are proud to work with actually PanPages to promote this program to the Malaysian SME so that you can take advantage of it. Well, we all pay tax, right? Get something back. The government wants to support you, especially with the current economic environment. The government wants to support SME and so that you can do better business. We're happy to be part of it. And with PanPages, we like to reach out to you and so that you can take advantage and be successful in exporting.
So what is the incentive or the government help in this case? In terms of monetary, how much was?
The amount,
I think it's about 2,005.
2,000.
Yeah,
in ringgit, right? In ringgit, I need to do conversion. It's about 2,500 ringgit per company, so that they can enjoy it and use it as part of the Gold suppliers membership fee.
So it's being subsidized by 2,005 ringgit.
Yes, yes.
Google, this year I heard about Google also have some kind of export initiative. Matt, can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Google's we've always done a lot of, we have a lot of customers who use Google to reach markets outside of where they're based. Google's up and running in most countries around the world. So people are, a lot of the trends I showed you from Malaysia, people are, the same things happening in Germany and France and, Brazil and Indonesia. So people figured out pretty quickly, one of the things they like about, it makes it very easy to say, hey, I've got a great product, but how do I let anybody know about this? And one of the questions they really start wondering is, well, which market should I reach and how much will it cost to reach new customers in these markets? And there's a lot of tools available that can help people answer these questions and actually get a sense of kind of which markets will be most cost effective to reach. Working closely with partners like PanPages. These tools are available to everyone, again, in a DIY, but our partners really are experts at using them. So I think you can, the same way you could use Google to promote products right here in Malaysia, you could use to promote, whether it's here in ASEAN or in EMEA or the US, the same sort of set of tools and services work.
Okay, so in other words, the core technology or the core product is still the Google AdWords. It's just that you have more tools for doing some kind of market analysis before they engage into doing export using Google AdWords.
Yeah, like our friends at Alibaba know, they really understand this, but export is complex because you start running into language and regulatory issues. So are your ads in the right language? When your customers click on them, are they ending up somewhere that's in the right language for them? And then what are the regulatory rules around? Can you support customers in those markets? And we have lots of tools to help streamline that and really to make that discussion a lot easier. And then also really to understand, give businesses so they can understand exactly how much it's going to cost to reach customers in those markets.
There's quite a lot of service could go around. So do you have any successful story or it's just a new concept?
No, we've actually, one of the things that's great about having a product that so many people use, right, is the customers figure these things out really fast. So I noticed just alone, like, wow, we have the partners here in Malaysia, but they're reaching lots and lots of, the clicks are coming from Brazil. What's going on? And so our customers have found their way through these, and we have partners that are increasingly helping them. But one story I really like, there's a local company here, I think they're in KL, if that's right. There was a company called Boxman.
Yeah.
I think it's boxman.com, and it's a famous, these guys, they made custom boxes. So if you needed a cardboard box, to fit, that was not a standard size, that's what these guys provided. And I mean, originally their market was literally, people that could drive and visit them here in kind of the greater KL area. And, big city, but, for custom boxes, pretty small market. And I think they really ran into trouble. And a lot of their ideas for growth were bigger than the market. So they figured out how to use kind of their website and online tools to start expanding their market within Malaysia. And then they quickly realized that they could reach all of Southeast Asia. I don't know how far they've gone now, but it was a great success story where they took what was a local business here in KL and built it out and actually reaching all of Malaysia, and the next step all across Southeast Asia and global. So terrific story there. I encourage it. Boxman is the name of the company.
Okay, so this new service or new concept of doing export with Google, are you planning to launch it in Malaysia, or are you doing something in Malaysia with this?
Yeah, I think what we'd like to do different in Malaysia, we'd really like to kind of invest in the partner piece of it so that our partners are equipped with the knowledge and tools to make that conversation easier for the business owner. So you can really, instead of talking about kind of what's going on behind the scenes technically, really focus on, hey, does this make sense? If so, which markets? Where should we start? What am I going to need to be set up to take the orders? And how do I get started basically? And how can I set goals and measure how we do against those goals? And what we'd really like to do is, again, equip our partners with that knowledge and the tools to make that conversation easier for businesses in Malaysia. And that's something we're really excited about doing this year.
Just to add a bit, since last year, end of last year, we've been working with PanPages, working with Google, just to roll this out as well. And we noticed that these tools are very good for SMEs who like to explore. Tools such as you get to assess the trends of how people search, the consumer behavior, what are the specific keywords, what are the languages that they use.
In other countries?
Yes,
in the targeted
specific countries. In the United States, or certain states, or in Brazil, like you say, or India, the specific buyer patterns, how people search. And the trend is all there because there's so many people using Google. So you get to have a substantial data before you even know where you want to head to, where you want to target. So it gives you quite an idea that your product or your service, what are the keywords, and you can see a number of searches monthly, and what are the languages that they recommend and all. So many tools that we've been working on, I think, and we're still working on it now.
So is it going to be roll out anytime soon?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Chris. I'll just, add on. I know in the box, one of the opportunities you can go in with the tools and actually see, hey, who's looking for custom boxes in Singapore? But not only who's looking, how many other people are advertising custom boxes? And so you have a great point, Chris, about the data and using that data to find opportunities. And again, what we'd like to do is really, make that conversation simpler by extending it through partners.
Okay, so the tools is available for the partners to service your...
Yeah, and Chris got to write the data as well, the underlying data.
So it's time where we open up the questionings to the floor. Any questions from the floor? Yeah, there's a question from there. Can someone get him a mic?
Hi, I have actually two sets of questions. Wow, I'm so nervous right now. Okay. Pardon me for my grammar, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. But I have two sets of questions for Mr. Matthew regarding the Google AdWords. Before that, I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is Hairi. I'm from Kyrix Marketing. I'm specialized in online affiliate marketing. Usually mostly it's for international digital products and services. So my question is, the one thing right now that we are concerned as a marketer is that we're concerned about the current state of Google AdWords as it stands right now. One thing that we agree within our marketing community, among my colleagues, is that Google AdWords is not as affordable and business friendly as it was 5 to 10 years ago. This is what I understand is that if you were to use Google AdWords and you've been exposed to Google AdWords 5 to 10 years ago, as you said before, you will be in luxury right now because it is not as expensive as it is today, and it is much more complicated. And some people, and some of our marketing colleagues also agrees that I'll give an example. That one thing is that the search AdWords keyword search algorithm that constantly changes too fast to an extent that some of us are unable to adapt to these changes fast enough. So what we did is that we tried to find a better way, a new way of marketing that is maybe you say cheaper and much more effective. So what we did was we looked into different network buys or different direct network buys, maybe through some banner ads or solo ads or maybe email marketing, any other forms of platform that might be cheaper and less complicated.
So can I get your questions right?
So my question is, Mr. Matthew, is that what is your comment on this matter? And for my second question, this is, it's not that kind of a serious question, but it's kind of important. As you all might know, that tonight Mr. Tim Cook from Apple will announce the new lineups of Apple products, namely the next generation iPhone 6 and their latest iOS 9. So what is Google's next move to counter Apple's latest product release?
So,
thank you.
Matthew. One, we're talking about Google getting more expensive and complex, and the other one, we're talking about how do you counter Apple with the orange.
Good questions. Thank you very much for having the courage to stand up and ask. So Google is really obsessed with the users, the end users, and people who are searching on Google. We think if we look out for those end users, we're constantly trying to improve the product for those end users. And when it comes to search, it means getting people the information they want as quickly as possible and to get them the most accurate information on the device that they want. So in terms of the search algorithms changing and things, yes, we are constantly, change is constant. And that's really this effort to improve kind of the search results for our end users. And in terms of complexity around the product, I think some of that comes to do with as our kind of world is changing and people have more and more, there's more and more choices. So for example, when we started with AdWords, right, there were very few mobile phones, and there certainly weren't ads running on them. So now we might have an ad running where we're thinking, hey, this person's sitting at their office at their desk. Or you might say, I'm trying to reach someone on their phone, and I only want them to be able to call. So I mean, we have all these different scenarios for where we're trying to reach users. So as the product has evolved to support all of these different users, complexity has arisen. And I think that's where, there's a lot of people in this room, and particularly on the PanPages team, who are experts with our products. And, being an expert with Google's products means a continual investment in learning. And we do our best to get information. So I think that complexity just has risen with kind of trying to meet more and more customers' needs. And then your last question about price. So the thing to remember about the way we price Google AdWords, it's an auction. So as we've added advertisers in markets, you might find yourself, if you're not competing with anyone, and if you're the only florist in Penang on Google AdWords, well, the prices could be very low. But as more and more florists begin bidding on keywords, you'll see the prices could begin to go up. Now, the other thing to remember about Google is that what we want, or this is back to the user obsession, is we want great ads. So we reward our advertisers for providing ads that people want and ads that people click on. So the more relevant your ads, kind of the higher the quality of the ads, it's one of the pieces we take into pricing. And that's, so there's a lot of ways, I think, to be smart about getting good value out of AdWords. And you do have to, again, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you have to be smart. And I think each year you have to be smarter. And I think this is, again, where you can challenge our partners. One of the ways we measure our partners, we look at is how low of prices are they driving for their end customers. And this is part of the transparency as well. So I think someone who really understands AdWords will be able to deliver you, better results at lower prices, and which is a lot of our goal.
That's why go fast, right?
Go fast. Yeah, no, the world is changing, but we also have to continue to invest in keeping our products as simple as possible. So,
but relatively, just to add, I think in Malaysia, the average cost per click is still relatively cheap, cheaper than many other countries.
Probably so because of our currency. I have to throw in that,
Yikes.
Yeah. There is a lot of value.
Yeah, a lot of value.
Yeah, you're right. And then last up, Apple's the beautiful products, terrific company. I think working inside of Google, one of the things I've seen is that I really appreciate is we tend to, again, we think about the end users. We try to think about what features are best. And it may apply to all of our businesses, but I think if you spend, it's good to be aware of kind of what your competitors are doing in the market, but at the end of the day, you think about your users, what's the best decision for them, you think about what you're passionate about with your products. We tend to find we make better decisions just kind of thinking about, again, how can we do something better and faster, more than spending a lot of time kind of watching exactly, what other companies are doing in the market.
Good. Do we have any more questions? Yeah.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm Joanne here.
Where are you?
Over here.
Oh, back there.
Oh.
Yeah, hi. I'm Joanne from Infinity FlexiTech. I would like to have two questions. First question is to Matthew from Google. Google search is currently unavailable in China. Is there any alternative by Google to reach out to the China market? And the second question goes to Christopher from PanPages. Google Ads is a form of internet marketing, and so is the search engine optimization. So PanPages only offers Google Ads, but not SEO. So why should we choose Google Ads over SEO? Thank you.
Thank you. So, over to you, Matt.
Yeah, so I don't know enough about kind of the details of China to speak well on how to use Google or what works and what doesn't work. But I'd be glad to find someone who could. And I can say that there are lots and lots of businesses in China, this is back to the export, that use Google to reach markets outside of China. So people must be figuring it out.
Alibaba.
It's the alternative.
If China is your target, then Alibaba might be ready.
Well, depending on the businesses, of
Yes.
course, we have different options for you if you're exploring the business in China. And welcome to find me. Talk to me afterwards.
So, as I understand, Alibaba do have options quite similar like Google in China. You have keywords as well, but you have other products like Taobao, Tmall. There's many options for the retailer, the B2C, to address or to serve the China market. Second question is to
PanPages. SEO. Why SEM, search engine marketing, and not SEO? I think just now, before your question, Joanne, before this, the gentleman who asked that Google has been, or many other search engines, constantly changing the algorithm. So if they're constantly changing the algorithm to suit the user's behavior, then no point going SEO, because once you O, then they change. Once you optimize, then they change. So why don't you just go and do marketing, SEM? Yeah. So that's my answer.
Okay, I believe this time there was a question. Somebody raised a hand here.
My name is Brian.
Where?
I'm from Vigo Marketing.
Oh,
Can you see
hi.
me? Okay. My question, actually, Christopher just now did explain a bit about offline over online, the target. Okay. But what I want to ask is, if as everybody know, which offline ads is more expensive than online, I believe. Okay, so if let's say we spend the same amount of budget on online, would it be more effective than offline advertising?
Actually, offline and online, it's very hard to judge the pricing average. There's so many different ways, like just now my earlier presentation. Audiences differs from different businesses. The business nature of specific industries can differ to another. So certain business is more suitable to go on offline first, entice them, get the awareness there, being discovered, and when people are considering, they search online. So I would say that it's best to combine. Most of the time it's combined. But I've also seen many businesses who go pure online, which also works for certain businesses. So there's no definite formula, like earlier on the discussion A plus B equals to C. It doesn't work like that.
So it very much depends
Yeah,
on
you have to
community,
understand your
the
business.
community.
Yeah, the community, the audiences are different. And they changes very quickly through time. So you have to be constantly trying to engage with your audience. There's no shortcut. It's continuous journey. And if you want it to be quicker and more aiming sharper, then you can get the transporter lah,
Which is the partner?
which
Okay.
is everyone here lah.
So I believe there's a question here.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Atisham from Scared Concept Furniture. I have a question. I have been using the AdWords for my company from 6 months. So our sales is increased up to 40%. And I would like to thank you to
Wow.
Mr. Matthew and to your team to give us this kind of easy way to advertise. And but I have one question, because in a market there's now others apps. It's really block it now these days, like ad blockers. So if whenever we do advertise, people are fed up from advertisement because they think that there is a lots of way to advertise. Sometimes it's a pop-up whenever they visit any website. So they start to using that ad blockers. So is there any other way? Is Google is working on it to find another way? Because I saw most of people, they are using the ad block. So what will be the future of the AdWords? Can I would like to know the answer for this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm really glad that you've had such a good experience with AdWords, 40% growth. So hopefully we can keep delivering that. In terms of ad blockers, I mean, users, I think that's an interesting signal, right? I mean, if we want users to have a great experience, and if they're not having a good experience, that's a strong signal, right? If they're saying, hey, I don't want to see these ads. So I think part of the piece is, I mean, kind of making sure that we're thoughtful about, kind of getting, by showing the most relevant and the most targeted and the best ads that are actually, that the user doesn't see as obtrusive. And then also making sure we're getting the format right. The phones, mobile, as we looked at earlier, is kind of happening and changing so fast. I don't think anyone's really figured this out exactly, kind of how to get this right. And I expect there to kind of continue to be a lot of change. And when you look at how all these terrific phone, services are funded, it's really important that we figure out how to get that piece right, so the users have a good experience, and also the content creators have business models that support for them. So I think it's just going to continue to be a trial and error. And if I could tell you what the future would look like, I'd be a very wealthy man today. So. But thanks for the question. I think the only other piece I would add about other products and services is it's really, I think the relevancy, and this is with the ad networks and things, it's very easy If you come to me and you say, hey, I want to buy an audience of this size, and partner A is going to charge X, how much will you charge me for an audience of that size? I can beat their price. I'll come up with a lower price, and I'll do that by delivering you a less relevant audience. So you can always come up with lower prices that appear to be more cost effective by delivering less relevant users. So I think, again, as you're kind of looking at the results, that's really the question you want to be asking yourself is, am I getting the results I want? And being clear about your goals, like I was talking about earlier, and that's the piece to watch, because you will always see lower price options, but are you reaching your goals with those options is kind of the challenge I'd put out there.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Hi.
Where are you? Oh.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Question is to Mr. Matthew. Just a short one. May I know when Malaysia will have the conversion tracking system for if I use core extensions, and also Google Shopping, when will it be introduced to Malaysia? Thank you.
Obviously, these are from a very technical point of view.
Yeah, no, great. So I believe the question is about phone tracking.
Yeah.
Call
extension.
Call
extension tracking.
Yeah,
conversion
so,
rate.
These products are global products, and they should be, we tell ourselves they're available everywhere as soon as they're released. It's not true. Things make their way around different parts of the world. It's one of my main asks for Malaysia is to have conversion tracking, to have phone tracking. I think the more you understand the results, the better the results you'll be able to drive, and the happier you'll be, and the longer you'll stay with us. So phone tracking is front and center for that. So I don't have an answer when, but it's one of the main things that the Google team here in Southeast Asia is asking for, and we'll keep pushing. So great to hear that there's interest and demand.
Good. Questions? Yeah.
Yes, hello, my name is Victor. I come from Vietnam. My question goes along a bit with the previous question about what's the future of Google AdWords. Well, somehow I see Google like the supplier and Google AdWords like the distributor, right, of clicks. So my question comes to the origin, when we will have, what's the future of Google? Will in the future, Google will keep the monopoly of being one single searcher, or will we have in the future like many Googles per industry in this case in order to make more accurate searches, and then AdWords will always be able to deliver better ads and more customized? Is it clear?
Yeah, I think you're asking kind of what does the future look like? How will we stay competitive? I think there's lots and lots of choices for people where they're either gonna look for information or where businesses are gonna advertise. I think if you look at past performance is the best indicator of kind of what's going to happen, and I think people will continue to get more and more choices. There'll be more and more specialization. I think kind of whoever delivers the best answers are likely to, users will switch very quickly to kind of wherever they're getting the best results. So I think that the technology has kind of proven itself to be an open and competitive space, and hopefully the future will look like kind of better and better. People get information faster, quicker, and that's more relevant. I see a lot of interesting things going on where right now you have to go and ask for things like, hey, I'm traveling to KL tomorrow, what's the temperature? And I love now that you can start doing things like with our voice search, you could say, do I need a jacket tomorrow in KL? And that's the real answer. So I see kind of, and then maybe my phone knows that I'm going to KL because it saw the airline ticket, and it might suggest, hey Matt, you need a jacket tomorrow in KL because it might rain. And I never even asked. So I think that's where Google, I think if we could move less from people kind of having to ask and pull information, and more that just technology in general knows what we want and starts helping us and kind of assisting us with our lives, that's I think one direction that's really exciting that I see a lot of companies investing in and thinking a lot about.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, me at the back.
Where are you? Oh, there.
Oh, there.
Sorry. All right. We're so excited on the impact. We are so excited discussing about new technologies, what Google's will be doing. Okay. Now I'm looking at the impact now on the how internet influence business do their operations, okay? The impact. SMEs is known to create jobs, but with the rise in technology, organizations, SMEs now can cut their costs, isn't it? They can reduce staff. So what is the implication on the future employment rate? Do they still need people with a specialized background like accounting, human resource management? Second one, I have a request, actually, not question. Can I have all the slides from the morning? Sorry, I can't seem to write fast enough.
Yes, of course.
So I think if you put a request to the counter later on, probably any one of you who would like to have a set of the slides, I think probably they can put a request to the PanPages counter.
Consultants as well.
Yeah. So I think then we can send it to you. But coming back to the first questions about whether internet is destroying the job opportunity. So maybe, Tim, you would like to start it off?
Okay.
But I know for PanPages, ever since we go into the internet journey, we hire more people. So actually we create more jobs. It's just different kind of jobs. But I do not know, Alibaba, you also create more jobs.
Actually, if you look at our group website, the mission of the company is not about our revenue. It's about creation of employment around the world. But let me go more deep into details of this. Using the internet is not destroying businesses. Actually, in particular, it's enabling the SME to be more competitive. And the SME is the biggest employers of the world. In whichever countries we go to, I go to many countries, it's always the SMEs employ the most staff in the world. And it's just a different way of doing business. As my presentation earlier showed that the buyers want to talk to the suppliers all the time, 24/7, Chris said. So actually, if you want to use the internet the best way, is you have people having 3 shifts, constantly online. That means you have to hire more people in that way to be more competitive in the internet world. But that is for generating of businesses. It's not for just employment's sake. SME need to employ people to generate profit, not because of the social issues. But we enabling them to be more competitive. Take businesses away from the bigger guys, the bigger corporation, and they should go into the smaller guys. What internet is about is leveling the playing field. In the past, you don't have the access, the resources to reach out to the different market, going to different part of the world, doing the market analysis that is being enabled by Google or Alibaba. Now you have that. You cannot do big data by yourself. The large corporation is doing big data. How could you do it? But now we enable you to do big data. So in fact, we are trying to create employment by supporting the SMEs. But we have to learn. Both us as the internet solution provider and you as SMEs have to learn how to do this. We provide the tools, and we forever re-engineering and improving our tools for you. But you have to learn to use the tools to be competitive and put your stick in the ground, claim your business so that you be successful, and being successful, you hire more people. We have seen video today how businesses in Vietnam is doing so well. We also have a success story in Vietnam that how our customers actually employ the whole village to satisfy his furniture productions. And we have similar story in Malaysia that is hiring more people because they're doing so successful on the internet. We love to see those stories, and I think there are some in the audience today. So to summarize is, we believe what we are doing is actually creating more employment than destroying.
I think she's also asking about whether internet will replace all the specialized guys like human resource and accountants and all. But unless we're really going into the Terminator age where Skynet control all, then we still need the human element there. No matter how, internet is the communication tool. Yeah, you level the playing field and all, but you still need the human element there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tim really got it right on it. This is the great leveler. So if you talk about the box company, Boxman here, you know, if their market was the greater KL area, now their market is the world, they're going to hire more people. But I agree with Chris. The question was going a little further, I think. So when I think about like my kids, what are they going to do? What kind of jobs? What do you tell your kids? What should you be learning? And again, if I had all the answers, but I do think there's something interesting to learn from. Do you remember this computer that IBM built? Deep Blue, the chess playing machine, right? And everyone was surprised at some point, right? It beat the grandmaster, you know, not just one, but it could beat. They got to a point where it could beat any human playing chess, and so suddenly we had this unbeatable computer, right? But do you know who can beat the computer? Which was a team of a human and the machine working together, and that's what can beat Deep Blue. And so I think. When I think about my own kids, I think a lot about I think people and what jobs are going to look like and what kind of skills. I think the ability to kind of understand these platforms and systems and to work well with them, that's likely to be kind of, you know, where there's a lot of job opportunities.
Yeah, I think the future belongs to the people who are very creative. I think the world is never short of people being creative. I think that's all we have the time for. Thank you very much to the panel judges for sharing the very insightful tips. We thank you very much. Let's hear a round of applause for the panelists here. Thank you very much.
And of course, thank you for all the very technical questions as well. But right now, we'd like to invite Mr. Sung to give a token of appreciation to Matthew and Timothy, of course, all the way from Singapore and Hong Kong. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and spending this afternoon with us. Stay back for lucky draw. No, this time for real. Let's give our gentlemen a big warm round of applause for coming to KL and gracing us with their presence. And yes, I would like to have slides as well, Christopher. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, sir.